Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new Pokemon challenge video. I cannot believe how well my previous video was received, so thank you so much for your support. I asked you guys what you wanted to see next, and you voted for a new gift Pokemon challenge. So today we find out, can you beat Pokemon FIRE RED using only gift Pokemon? If you've seen my previous two gift Pokemon videos, you know how this works. I can only use gift Pokemon in battle. These are Pokemon given to you as opposed to being caught or traded. I'm allowed to use HM slaves outside of battle, but that's it. No items used in battle. Items are only allowed outside of battle as well. Also no held items. These gift Pokemon runs are a tad easier than your typical challenge run, so by banning held items it makes things a little bit more challenging. There are a grand total of 7 gift Pokemon available in Fire Red and Leaf Green, but only 6 of these are available in the main game. This does include my starter, which is a gift Pokemon. I won't be getting a second Pokemon until about the 4th gym, so I've decided to keep my starter around for this run. Without any further ado, let's get right into it. I start the game and choose the female character. I name her Momoko. I feel like this one's a little bit more tricky, but comment down below if you get the reference. You already know what we named our rival. That's right, Bumbum's back. It doesn't take long before we're given our first gift Pokemon, in the form of our starter. We have a choice of Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. Considering the Pokemon we'll be getting later, I feel as if a grass type would be most beneficial, so I pick Bulbasaur. Our rival picks the starter that's super effective against ours, so he picks Charmander. We beat him in a fairly straightforward battle, and our journey begins. We travel to Vermilion City and pick up Oak's parcel, then deliver it back to him and we get our Pokédex. We travel back up to Vermilion and travel west to do an optional rival fight. He's got a Pidgey now, but we still managed to beat him with Bulbasaur, thanks to our move Leech Seed, which saps a small amount of HP from the enemy each turn. With that win under our belt, we travel north and traverse the Vermilion Forest. On the other side is Pewter City, the home of the first gym leader, Brock. We one-shot both of his Pokemon with Vine Whip. It's an easy first gym fight to say the least. We can now travel east towards Mount Moon. On the way there, Bulbasaur grows to level 16 and evolves into Ivysaur. We've got a while to go before getting our next Pokemon, so this should make things a little bit easier. In the Pokemon Center outside Mount Moon, a man will offer to give you a Magikarp for 500 Pokédollars. I won't be using it in this run because 1, it's not a gift if you have to pay for it, and 2, it's not counted as a gift Pokemon on Cerulean, so I won't be counting it either. Don't worry though, we'll be able to get another water type at some point. We travel through Mount Moon and we're given the choice of 2 fossils. While we can't actually use them in battle yet, this is our next gift Pokemon. As if it wasn't obvious, of course I chose the Helix fossil. Praise Helix! We exit Mount Moon and arrive in Cerulean City. While battling the gym trainers, Ivysaur learns the move Razor Leaf. I replaced Vine Whip as Razor Leaf is practically better in every single way, aside from being slightly less accurate. It's time to face Misty, the second gym leader. Misty's water Pokemon are also weak to grass, so this fight was almost as easy as Brock. Staryu is out first. It is faster than us, but his Water Pulse does a pitiful amount of damage. We hit back with a super effective Razor Leaf and one-hit KO. Misty's second and final Pokemon is Starmie. It's fast, so it outspeeds and hits with a Swift. Razor Leaf does a lot of damage, but it's not enough to one-hit KO. We get hit with one more Swift before taking it out. Yet another easy gym battle. I guess picking Bulbasaur made the early game a little bit too easy. Now that we have the second badge, I head north towards the Nugget Bridge, where our rival faces us in battle. He's got stronger since our last battle for sure. He starts with a Pidgeotto, who's super effective against us thanks to his flying type. I'm able to get a Leech Seed off on him before he lowers my accuracy with Sand Attack. I go for Razor Leaf and thanks to its high crit chance, we get a critical hit which deals a lot of damage, taking him down below half. For whatever reason, Pidgeotto is content with just using Sand Attack instead of hitting us with a Gust. After the Leech Seed damage, he's on red health, so one more attack will take it out, but the Sand Attacks are obviously paying off for him as we miss. Now he finally decides to attack. Despite being super effective, Gust doesn't really do a whole lot, especially after we get some of our health back from Leech Seed. I go for Tackle and this time we don't miss, so Pidgeotto goes down. Next up is this Charmander. You'd think he would have evolved it by now, but apparently not. He's got a fire move, so I use Leech Seed to make sure I have as much HP as possible. His Ember doesn't do that much damage, but they will certainly wear Ivysaur down quickly if I don't get rid of Charmander soon. I go for Razor Leaf and get another critical hit. If anyone wants to start a crit counter, I'd love to see it in the comments. Charmander hangs on with a sliver of health and his Ember is now powered up thanks to his ability Blaze. Leech Seed isn't quite enough to finish it off, so I go for Tackle to seal the deal, and yup, I missed again. He hits with another Ember and we live with just 4 HP left. Leech Seed is now enough to finally take out the Charmander. Next is Abra, whose only move is Teleport, which means it can't actually attack me. So I decide to go for Leech Seed and waste a few turns before taking it out just so I can heal back a bit more health. His last Pokemon is a Rattata. He goes for a quick attack which doesn't do too much damage, and one Razor Leaf is enough to take it out, winning us the fight. We beat all the trainers on Nugget Bridge and pay a visit to Bill, who gives us the SS ticket, so that's going to be our next destination. We travel south and arrive in Vermilion City. We board the SS Anne and are yet again challenged by our rival. We've literally only just beaten him the last time, so I'll give you the short version. It took a couple of attempts to get past the Charmeleon, but the rest of the battle was a breeze. We pay a visit to the captain's cabin and get the HM for cut. I catch an Oddish to teach it to, and it's time to face the third gym leader, Lieutenant Surge. We're a little bit over leveled at this point, so this fight wasn't exactly difficult either. Surge's first Pokemon is a Voltorb. We actually outspeed it and one hit KO with a Razor Leaf. Next out is a Pikachu who suffers the same fate as Voltorb, fainting to one Razor Leaf, and that crit definitely didn't matter. Surge's last Pokemon is Raichu. It's faster than us and hits with a Thunder Wave which paralyzes us. We manage to hit a Razor Leaf and it does roughly half of his health. I feel like one more Razor Leaf won't quite be enough, so I decide to go for Tackle as he sets up a double team. Luckily we don't miss, and it does decent damage but not enough to make him heal. He hits us with a Shockwave, which doesn't really do that much, and we're able to hit a Razor Leaf, which is enough to defeat the Raichu. That's 3 badges down. Ivysaur grows to level 32 after beating Raichu, and it evolves into Venusaur. We're also given the TM for Shockwave, which we may or may not be needing soon. We travel to Cerulean City where we can finally obtain our second team member. If you travel to the very top of this building, there's a Pokeball waiting for us. Inside that Pokeball is our next team member, Eevee. During the main story, we get a choice of 3 evolutions, Vaporeon, Flareon and Jolteon. While Umbreon and Espeon are in the national decks, you can't actually get them until after you've beaten the game, so we're stuck with those 3. I used a Vaporeon in my Crystal Gift Pokemon video, so I decided to go with Jolteon this time. It's fast and can hit decently hard too. I buy a Thunderstone in the Celadon department store and use it on Eevee to evolve it. I also teach it the move Shockwave, which we only just got from Surge. Before taking on the 4th gym, there's actually another gift Pokemon that's available to us now. I travel to Saffron City and take on the Fighting Dojo. After beating the Dojo Master, we're given a choice of 2 Pokemon, Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan. Once again, in my Crystal Gift Pokemon video I used a Hitmonlee, so this time I'll be picking Hitmonchan. I trained up a few levels with Jolteon and Hitmonchan just so they can catch up to Venusaur a little bit and take on the Grass-type gym leader Erika. Hitmonchan was actually really useful in this fight. It has access to the elemental punches, and while they're special in Gen 3 as opposed to physical, and Hitmonchan's special attack is really low, they still manage to hit decently hard. Erika leads off with a Victory Bell as I send out Hitmonchan. I outspeed and hit with an Ice Punch. It does less than half, but I get a very lucky freeze, making it unable to attack. One more isn't quite enough to take it out, and Erika uses a Hyper Potion to fully heal Victory Bell. It's still frozen though, so we're able to take it out in 3 hits without it thawing out. Next up is Tangela. I decide to use Fire Punch this time. It does a lot of damage as she hits back with the Giga Drain, which doesn't do too much. One more Fire Punch takes out Tangela. Erika's last Pokemon is Vileplume. Fire Punch doesn't really do a lot of damage, but we do get a very lucky burn. She does manage to hit a Stun Spore though, which paralyzes us. I go for another Fire Punch as Erika uses a full heal to heal Vileplume's burn. It brings it down to about 1/4 of its health. Vileplume hits with a Giga Drain, and due to the health she regained, Fire Punch is now not quite enough to finish it off. But we get another burn. That's 2 burns and 1 freeze in one battle. The burn damage is enough to faint Vileplume and we win the fight, earning us the 4th badge, and we're given the TM for Giga Drain as well. Before we can continue, we need to defeat Team Rocket in the game corner. As always, Team Rocket go down without much of a fight. Giovanni's Onix and Rhyhorn both faint to 1 Razor Leaf from Venusaur, and Kangaskhan goes down to 2 Mach Punches from Hitmonchan. We get the Silph Scope and travel to Lavender Tower, where we find our rival. He's actually really underleveled, so we beat him really easily. We scale the tower and send Cubone's mother back to the Shadow Realm and rescue Mr. Fuji, who gives us the Pokeflute. We can now proceed to Fuchsia City. Before heading there, I backtrack to Pewter City and access the back of the Pokemon Museum. There, a researcher gives us the Old Amber. We can turn this into a gift Pokemon relatively soon. We ride down Cycle Path and arrive in Fuchsia City, where we visit the Safari Zone so we can get the HMs for Surf and Strength. It's now time to face the 5th gym leader, Koga. This was probably the most difficult gym leader so far. He leads off with a Coughing as I send out Jolteon. Shockwave almost one-shots it, but he goes for Self-Destruct, which takes out both of us. I swap into Hitmonchan as he sends out Muck. I use Strength, which only does about 1/4 of his health as he goes for Acid Armor, This raises his defense, making strength do even less. I go for another strength and it takes it down to about half as he uses minimize to up his evasion. My good luck continues as I go for strength again and get a critical hit which negates Muck's boosted defense and finishes it off. Next up is another coughing, so I stay in. Strength does less than half as he hits back with a sludge which poisons me. I go for Ice Punch to make sure he doesn't heal as he hits with another sludge which takes us down to red health. We just survive though and one more Ice Punch finishes off the coughing. Koga's last Pokemon is Wheezing, so I swap into Venusaur. I set up a Leech Seed as he goes for Sludge, which doesn't do too much. I hit with a couple of secret powers. They don't do too much damage, but we do manage to paralyze it. We're able to bring it down to low health, but I fear he's going to use a Hyper Potion. He does use an item, but it's a full heal. So one more secret power and the Leech Seed damage are enough to win us the badge. We're given the TM for Toxic, so I decide to teach it to Venusaur. It's basically just a better poison powder. Before taking on the 6th gym, Team Rocket needs beating once again. While doing this, we get challenged by our rival once again, and he's actually quite tough this time. He leads off with a Pidgeot, so I send out Jolteon. He goes for Quick Attack, but it really doesn't do a lot. I hit back with a Shockwave, which brings it down to red health. I was expecting a Hyper Potion, so I go for another Shockwave, but he instead uses Quick Attack again, so we take the hit quite easily and finish off Pidgeot. For some reason, he sends out Gyarados next, despite being 4 times weak to Electric. We outspeed and Shockwave is more than enough to take it out. Next up is Execute, so I decide to swap into Hitmonchan and hit with an Ice Punch. It does less than half though as he paralyzes us with Stun Spore. Now he outspeeds us and hits with a super effective Confusion for about 45% of our health. We hit another Ice Punch and bring it down to red health. We're hit with another Confusion but we're able to survive and finish it off with a Strength. Next up is Alakazam. I'm going to need Jolteon soon, so I decide to swap into Venusaur. Alakazam obviously outspeeds and sets up a Reflect, which lowers the power of physical moves. Because of this, our secret power only does about a quarter of his health. Alakazam decides to go for a Future Sight this turn as I hit with a Razor Leaf, which brings it down to KO range. For some reason, Alakazam decides to go for another Future Sight. Gotta love that AI. One more Razor Leaf takes it out. Last up is his now fully evolved starter, Charizard. I decide to swap into Hitmonchan to try and take the Future Sight, but this backfires as Hitmonchan gets taken out before that happens. I swap into Jolteon, who then immediately gets hit with the Future Sight. Great job, me. I outspeed and Shockwave does more than half, but Charizard's Flamethrower is enough to take us out. My last Pokemon is Venusaur, so this isn't looking good. Thankfully the Reflect wears off just in time for me to go for Secret Power, and I get a lucky critical hit. I swear I am the luckiest challenge run player alive sometimes. We feint the Charizard and beat Bumbum once again. Now that we've beaten our rival, we can actually get our next team member. We talk to this guy here and he gives us a Lapras. Lapras is a really good all-round Pokemon with decent stats everywhere and learns some really good moves. This will definitely come in handy for the rest of the run. We defeat Team Rocket once again. Giovanni didn't pose a threat either, so we beat him easily. Now that Team Rocket has fled, we can take on Sabrina, the 6th gym leader. She starts off with the Kadabra as I send out our new Lapras. She does set up a Future Sight, but we're able to knock it out in 2 Body Slams. Next up is Mr. Mime, so I decide to send out Hitmonchan to target its low physical defense. I outspeed and Strength hits hard, almost one-shotting it. She wastes a turn using Calm Mind, but she heals the next turn. We hit another Strength, but are hit by Kadabra's Future Sight. We take the hit though and finish off Mr. Mime with one more Strength. Next up is Alakazam, so I swap into Jolteon. I outspeed it and hit with a Pin Missile. It hits 4 times and does over half as she sets up Calm Mind. One more should be enough, but we miss. Of course we do. In hindsight, I probably should have gone for Shockwave here. Not only that, but she uses Recover to heal back 50% of her HP. We go for it again and it hits this time, but it only hits twice. She sets up another Calm Mind. This thing is starting to scare me. I hit another Pin Missile. It looks like I'll need about 4 to KO. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
She sets up a Future Sight, and you know what's coming.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Yep, Hyper Potion. And I missed the Pin Missile.
I can't believe you've done this.
End my suffering. This goes on for a long time till eventually we're able to beat the Alakazam, but not before she sets up another Future Sight. Sabrina's last Pokemon is Venomoth, so I stay in and hit with a Shockwave. It does over half, but a combination of her Psybeam and the Future Sight take out Jolteon. I swap into Lapras, and thanks to her missing Supersonic twice, we're able to take out the Venomoth in just 2 surfs and win the 6th badge. We travel to Pallet Town and head south on the sea towards Cinnabar Island, where we can finally get our last 2 gift Pokemon. We pay a visit to the Pokemon Lab and get the Helix Fossil and Old Amber revived into Omanyte and Aerodactyl respectively. These Pokemon are both pretty strong, so they'll both be very good additions to the team. I do a little bit of grinding and find the Rock Slide move tutor in Rock Tunnel and teach it to Aerodactyl. I also teach Surf and Rock Tomb to Omanyte. After a bit more grinding, it's time to face the 7th gym leader, the Fire-type user Blaine. This gym was the bane of my existence during my Paris only run, but this time is a lot smoother thanks to all the rock and water types we have on our team. First up is Growlithe, so I send out Lapras. We get outsped and hit with a Fire Blast, but we survive with HP to spare. Lapras hits back with a Surf, which is a 1-hit KO. Next up is Ponyta. I stay in and get hit with another Fire Blast, but we take that one too, and Ponyta also goes down to just 1 Surf. Next up is Rapidash, so I switch out Lapras for our new Aerodactyl. Thanks to our great speed stat, we outspeed despite being 12 levels lower. Rock Slide does over half, but not only that, we get the flinch too. One more Rock Slide finishes off Rapidash, and all that's left is his last Pokemon, Arcanine. I decide to go into Omanyte as we're 4 times resistant to fire. Arcanine goes for Bite and almost takes us out, but he gets his revenge as we flinch. Arcanine knocks us out with a takedown, so I swap back into Aerodactyl. We outspeed and hit with a Rock Slide, which unfortunately doesn't do too much damage, less than half, as he hits back with a Stab Fire Blast. We hang on though with 18 HP. We hit another Rock Slide and take it down to red health before we go down to Arcanine's takedown. I swap back into Lapras and go for Surf, but unsurprisingly, he heals with a Hyper Potion. Surf hits and does about half. Arcanine outspeeds and goes for Fire Blast, but misses. That definitely would have knocked Lapras out if it had hit. We go for Surf once more and finish off the Arcanine, winning the battle. We step outside the gym and we're met with Bill, who invites us to the Sevi Islands. These aren't required and honestly they're really boring, so I skip them entirely. There's just one gym left to face before we can take on the Elite Four, and that's Giovanni himself. We travel back to Vermilion City and face off against the gym. While battling the gym trainers, Omanyte evolves into Omastar. We now have a fully evolved team. It's time to battle Giovanni. He starts off with a Rhyhorn, so I send out our newly evolved Omastar. Outspeed and 1 Surf is enough to 1-hit KO. Next up is another Rhyhorn, who also goes down to 1 Surf. Giovanni sends out Dugtrio next, so I swap into Aerodactyl. I get outsped, but his slash does hardly anything. I go for Aerolace, which does just less than half. I get hit with another slash as I go for Fly, as it's more powerful than Aerolace. Unfortunately, Dugtrio just survives and uses a Hyper Potion the next turn to regain all of his health. I go for another 2 Flies and it survives with what looks like just 1 HP. I go for Bite to finish it off, but he uses another Hyper Potion. We manage to get it down below half, but Aerodactyl's going to faint next turn, so I decide to swap into Venusaur. He survives a couple of hits and finishes off Dugtrio with a Razor Leaf. Next up is Nidoqueen, so I swap into Lapras. We get outsped and hit with an Earthquake, but we take it like a champ and hit back with an Ice Beam. It does over half, and we get another Freeze. Giovanni wastes a turn using a full heal, so one more Ice Beam is enough to take it out. Giovanni's last Pokemon is Nidoking, so I stay in. We get hit with an Earthquake, but we just survive and hit back with an Ice Beam that brings it all the way down to red health. I'm predicting an Earthquake, so I swap back into Aerodactyl, but unfortunately he goes for Double Kick, so Aerodactyl goes down. I swap into Hitmonchan and take an Earthquake. We retaliate with an Ice Punch for the game. We get the badge and the TM for Earthquake. I decide to teach it to Venusaur. We now have all 8 badges. Let's see if we can beat the Elite Four with our team of gift Pokemon. Before that though, we need to fight our rival once again. He's gotten even stronger since last time, so I make sure to grind everyone to around level 40 first. We've got this. He leads off with Pidgeot, so I decide to start with Aerodactyl. Thanks to a flinch, we're able to defeat Pidgeot in 2 Rock Slides without taking damage. Next up is Gyarados, so I swap into Jolteon. 1 super effective Shockwave is enough to KO. Next is Rhyhorn, so I swap into Omastar and 1-hit KO with a Surf. Next up is Execute, so I swap into Lapras, outspeed and KO with an Ice Beam. This is a clean sweep so far. But next is Alakazam. I swap back into Omastar and I'm able to hit with a Rock Tomb and lower his speed before he takes me out with a Psychic. I switch into Aerodactyl and hit with a Rock Slide, which doesn't quite finish it off, but we do get another lucky flinch. 1 more is enough to knock it out. Bumbum's last Pokemon is his starter Charizard, so I stay in. I outspeed and use Rock Slide, but we miss and we're hit with a Flamethrower. Thankfully we're able to survive, and next turn we hit a Rock Slide, but because he's 13 levels higher than us, he managed to survive with red health. I thought he'd definitely heal or something, but we go for Aerial Ace and he doesn't heal, so it's enough to finish it off, winning us the battle. We travel through Victory Road and arrive at the Pokemon League. I don't think my team is quite ready, so I train up a few levels so everyone is level 50 and teach them a few TMs. Here's our final team. Venusaur with the moves Earthquake, Toxic, Giga Drain and Razor Leaf. Jolteon with the moves Shockwave, Thunder, Double Kick and Quick Attack. Hitmonchan with the moves Brick Break, Strength, Ice Punch and Counter. Lapras with the moves Surf, Body Slam, Hydro Pump and Ice Beam. Omastar with Rock Tomb, Blizzard, Surf and Bite. And Aerodactyl with Aerial Ace, Rock Slide, Steel Wing and Fly. It's time to face the Elite Four. First up is the Ice-type specialist, Lorelei. She leads off with a Dugong as I start with Jolteon. I go for Thunder, which thankfully doesn't miss, and Dugong goes down. Next up is Cloyster, so I stay in. Cloyster's special defense is about as good as a shield made out of wet toilet paper, so one Shockwave takes it out. Next up is Slowbro, another Pokemon weak to electric, so I stay in and go for Thunder. We don't miss and it's enough to one-shot it. I thought Slowbro was bulkier than that, but I'll take it. Next up, Lorelei sends out Lapras, so once again I go for Thunder. But unfortunately we miss as we're hit with the Confuse Ray. I go for it again and luckily don't hit myself a Confusion or miss, and Thunder does a good chunk. Not only that, we get a Paralysis too. Lapras hits back with an Ice Beam, which does decent damage to us. Lapras' Citrus Berry takes effect and takes out of healing range, so one Shockwave finishes it off. Lorelei's last Pokemon is Jinx, so I swap into Aerodactyl, outspeed, and one-hit KO with a Rock Slide. Lorelei was really easy. Maybe if she had a Delibird on her team she would have won, just saying. Next up is Bruno, who uses fighting types, and Onix for some reason. He leads off with one, so I send out Venusaur. I outspeed, and it goes without saying that Razor Leaf is a one-hit KO. Next up is Hitmonchan, so I decide to stay in. I go for Earthquake, which doesn't even do half as he hits me with a Rock Tomb, which lowers my speed. I go for Giga Drain this time, which brings it down below half. Hitmonchan tries to go for Counter, but it fails as Grass types are special, not physical. I'm not sure if an Earthquake will be enough to take it out, so I go for Toxic. We're outsped though and hit with the Sky Uppercut, but it hardly does anything. But unfortunately we miss the Toxic. We're hit with another Sky Uppercut and this time Toxic lands. He goes for another Sky Uppercut but misses, and after Toxic damage, Giga Drain is enough to faint Hitmonchan. Next up is Hitmonlee, so I swap into Aerodactyl and one Fly is enough to one-hit KO. Next is Bruno's big and scary Machamp, and that's justified too as it was hard to deal with. I go for Fly, but while I'm in the air he uses Bulk Up, which boosts his attack and defense. Because of this, Fly does less than half and we're hit with a critical hit Cross Chop, which takes us out in one hit. I swap into Jolteon so I can hit it with a powerful Thunder, but as seems to be tradition in this run, I miss. Machamp hits another Cross Chop and we go down. I decide to channel my inner Wobbuffet from my Emerald Gift Pokemon challenge and swap into Hitmonchan and use Counter, but not even that works, as Hitmonchan goes down to one Cross Chop as well. I decide my only option really is to Toxic Stall with Venusaur. Thankfully for the most part, Machamp uses Scary Face and Bulk Up instead of hitting us. Many turns and a couple of full restores later, we're able to finish off Machamp with a lucky crit from Razor Leaf. Finally. Bruno's last Pokemon is another Onix, so I swap into Omastar and easily finish it off with a Surf. We beat Bruno, and next up is the Ghost-type trainer Agatha. She leads off with a Gengar as I send out Omastar. She goes for Toxic, but right off the bat she misses. I hit with a Bite, which does almost half. Gengar goes for Shadow Punch this turn, but it hardly does anything due to Ghost moves being physical in Gen 3. We go for Surf this time and it's enough to take out Gengar. Next out is Golbat, so I swap into Jolteon and one Thunder knocks it out before it can even attack. Agatha sends out Arbok next, so I swap into Lapras. We're hit with a Screech that lowers our defense as we hit an Ice Beam, which does a decent chunk. Arbok hits us with a Sludge Bomb, which does a huge amount of damage but also poisons us. I risk going for a Hydro Pump as I really need the extra damage. Thankfully we don't miss and it's enough to take it out, even without that critical hit. Next up is Agatha's second and more powerful Gengar. I swap back into Omastar and attempt to use Surf, but she puts us to sleep with Hypnosis. We don't wake up the next turn and we're hit with the Shadow Ball, but because it's physical it doesn't do too much. We're hit with another one and this time we wake up and hit a Surf, which does about half. But she heals up a bit with a Citrus Berry, which takes it out of KO range. I decide to go for Bite this turn as it shouldn't bring it down to healing range, but we get put to sleep with another Hypnosis. We get hit with a Nightmare the next turn, but it doesn't matter as we wake up and hit a Bite, which does more than I expected, bringing it down to red health. I go for Surf, but as you can probably guess, she uses a full restore. We hit Surf and it brings it down to KO range. Gengar attempts to put us to sleep for the third time, but she misses, so one more Surf knocks it out. Agatha's last Pokemon is Haunter. I decide to stay in, but we get put to sleep and KO'd by Dream Eater before we can do anything. I swap into Aerodactyl to outspeed it and we hit with a Fly, which does over half. And Agatha makes a 10,000 IQ play and goes for Curse, knocking out her last Pokemon by herself.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Now we've beaten Agatha, there's just one member of the Elite Four left to face. The Dragon Master, Lance. I wasn't too worried going into this fight as we have an Ice type on the team in the form of Lapras. Lance starts with the Gyarados, so I lead off with Jolteon. I go for Shockwave thinking it'll be a certain KO, but Gyarados barely survives and uses Twister, which doesn't do much damage at all. I decide to go for Quick Attack as I know he's going to heal, which he does. We get the most underwhelming critical hit ever and then proceed to finish it off with another Shockwave. Next up is a Dragonair, so I swap into Lapras. It outspeeds me but goes for Dragon Rage, which deals a set amount of 40 damage. We hit back with an Ice Beam, but it just survives with a sliver of health. Instead of healing, it decides to go for a Safeguard, so I finish it off with a Body Slam. Next up is Aerodactyl. I don't want to get hit by a Rock Slide, so I swap into Jolteon. Aerodactyl's fast, so it outspeeds Jolteon and hits with an Ancient Power. We take the hit though and go for a Shockwave, which does more than half. I thought maybe we could take another Ancient Power, but it seems I was mistaken. We get taken out before I can go for another Shockwave, so I swap into Omastar, who takes an Ancient Power like a boss, and feints Aerodactyl with a Surf. Next up is his second Dragonair. I stay in because I have a super effective Blizzard. He goes for Thunder Wave though, and unfortunately because of that we're unable to attack. Dragonair goes for an Outrage, which we're able to survive, and we hit the Blizzard, which knocks out Dragonair from full health. Lance's final Pokemon is his Dragonite, so I swap back into Lapras. He outspeeds us but uses Safeguard again, so we hit a 4-time super effective Ice Beam and bring it down all the way to red health. Dragonite eats a Citrus Berry though, which takes it out of full restore range. We're hit with a Wing Attack which does decent damage, but one more Ice Beam seals the deal. We've beaten the Elite Four, but one more trainer stands in our way, and his name? Bumbum. It feels like only a few minutes has gone by since we last battled him, which I guess is true for you. He starts off with Pidgeot, as always, so I lead with Jolteon. I outspeed and hit with a Shockwave, which takes it out in one hit thanks to a very lucky critical hit. Next up is Rhydon, but poor Rhydon doesn't stand a chance as I swap into Lapras and take it out in one Surf. Next up is Exeggutor. I don't really have any super effective moves outside of Omastar and Lapras, who are both weak to grass, so I decide to swap into Venusaur and Toxic Stall it. It takes a little while, but a mixture of Toxic and Earthquake eventually bring it down. Next up is Alakazam. I decide to stay in because Venusaur won't really be too useful for the remainder of this battle, so I decide to get as much damage as I can. Alakazam decides to go for Future Sight, so we get to hit an Earthquake, dealing decent damage. I go for Toxic this time and Alakazam goes for Future Sight again. What a fantastic AI this game has. Unfortunately I missed the Toxic though. I decide to try again, but surely Alakazam will attack this turn, right? Wrong. He goes for Future Sight for a third time, and this time we're able to hit the Toxic. The Future Sight takes effect, but it fails. What is going on here? I go for Earthquake on the off chance he doesn't KO us, and he goes for Future Sight again. What an absolute moron. Earthquake hits and is enough to take out Alakazam after the Toxic damage. Thank God for bad AI. Next up is his Charizard, so I swap into Aerodactyl. We outspeed, and despite being 13 levels lower, Rock Slide is enough to one-hit KO thanks to the 4x effectiveness. Bumbum is down to his last Pokemon, Gyarados, and we have just the ticket, Jolteon. I swap it in, outspeed, and hit with a Shockwave. Unfortunately, it isn't quite enough to one-shot, and he hits us with the Dragon Rage. Jolteon gets hit with Alakazam's Future Sight, but we survive it and go for another Shockwave as he uses a full restore on Gyarados. Once again he survives the hit, but one more is enough to take it out. We beat the champion without losing a single Pokemon, and beat Pokémon FIRE RED using only gift Pokemon. Obviously these gift Pokemon runs are easier than your standard challenge runs, but they're some of the most fun challenges I've done. The gift Pokemon in this game are actually really good, and I was able to make a diverse and powerful team of 6 Pokemon with them. The MVP of the team has to go to Jolteon. It was fast and hit super hard, but I think everyone in the team proved themselves. Thank you so much for your support on these videos. The last 2 gift Pokemon videos have been really well received, and I really hope this one was a fitting sequel. If you enjoyed the video, then please leave a like and comment down below on what Pokemon challenge I should take on next. If I decide to pick your idea, I'll give you a shout out in the video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time.